Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel Autistic Multiple Life. This channel was created to raise stigma around autism and dissociative identity disorder. My name is Liza, I am one of the alters in this system and I am 4 years old. Our body is autistic and of course we are multiple, and today I want to speak with you about autism, about Autism Speaks and other charities and other organization created by neurotypical, especially neurotypical parents. And I want to speak with you about my favorite cartoon, my favorite movie Frozen. Why I want to speak about it at first, because I am an autistic girl and our body is autistic, so I think all of us are autistic just a little bit, and because almost everyone knew Frozen and many people like Frozen just like me, and maybe if they would hear in the example of Frozen why Autism Speaks is bad, they stop supported organization like this. Many years ago, Ayman found and translated into Russian from English articles about Frozen and autism. That magic in Frozen could be just like metaphor for autistic characteristic. And it's my favorite article about autism, and I would give a link below about it. And now Lilian, our primary protector, in Kakon with me, and she helped me to speak because I'm really nervous. So, Frozen and Autism Speaks. For many years, autistic community was fighting against Autism Speaks because Autism Speaks is a hate group. Autism Speaks against autistic people, to be autistic, and they spent most of their money for find a cure. And just for made us not to be us but to be someone else, and to maybe made abortion for autistic kids or for change autistic kids, so for preventing us from birth or for made us and other people, and it's really scared. And also they support some torture center like Georgia Tibet Center, and also they are really bad, and their actions, just like many mistakes that Elsa's parents and community in Frozen made toward Elsa. So please remind, and now the story, just remind the beginning of first Frozen movie. Little Elsa was enjoying her power. She liked to make a snowman with her little sister Anna. He liked ice. He liked this magic that she had. And after that, an accident happened, and Elsa just accidentally harmed her little sister Anna. This accident could happen with any ordinary kids. Any ordinary kids can push her sister, but her parents blame her power. It's often happened with autism. If neurotypical parents of neurotypical child don't like their child, they most of the time ashamed to speak about it, but and try to find some solution how to accept their kids, how to make good relationship with their kids. But if autistic parents don't like their kids and autistic kids do something wrong, these neurotypical parents try the reason to openly say that the kids are bad and try to change it, like try to isolate them from society before these kids became like normal. This is the stuff like parents in Frozen do, and this is the stuff that organization like Autism Speaks promote. They promote ABA therapy. ABA therapy is created to make autistic kids. Most of the time, ABA therapy used to make autistic kids to look normal, and just to not let them to be themselves, not respect these kids' right to be themselves. What parents in Frozen do, they wear the gloves to Elsa and say, conceal it, don't feel it, don't let it know. Just like autistic parents with support organization like Autism Speaks used to do. They say to their kids that these kids need to conceal, don't feel their autistic selves. They couldn't steam, they couldn't purely enjoy their special interests. They couldn't speak like autistic kids used to speak. Even if they could to do it just to, after that became a normal, became like an neurotypical. And this is the first stuff that's common in mistakes that parents in Frozen do, and in mistakes that Autism Speaks do. The second, do you remember when our parents, Elsa's parents, took Elsa, little Elsa, to elves? These elves said that said to Elsa that fear would be your enemy. The main enemy is fear. And fear of your power, not accepting your power. And yeah, and this is the reason why many autistic kids and many autistic adults have some mental problems, have anxiety, depression, because they don't know how to accept their autistic selves, as they don't know how to live a healthy autistic life. And when organizations like Autism Speaks promote cure and distinguish from peers, they promote this idea that autistic people couldn't be really happy being autistic. And this just prevents us to control our power, to control our emotions, to live like we could live. And you see what it led in Frozen when Elsa lose control of their power. Like, for example, autistic kids could lose control of themselves during a meltdown, and everyone in Frozen yelled, "She's a monster." And this is the stuff that very often autistic kids hear and autistic adults hear. You're wrong, you're a monster, you could be potential dangerous if you behave in an autistic way. Just because huge organization with huge resources, promote this idea that being an autistic is wrong. And organizations like Autism Speaks spend most of their money for research how to make us normal, or for promoting for awareness, for promoting this idea that autism is a problem. Autism Speak awareness and this is just promoting this idea that autism is a problem. And after that we became like Elsa, who couldn't control their power, who couldn't control her power, who were afraid of her power. And everyone yelled monster, not teach her how she could control her power, but yell monster. And this is what we are facing, and this is the reason why, for example, Ayman, our host in our system, couldn't find a job because Ayman behaved openly autistic. It wasn't dangerous behaviors, but people used to be afraid of autism, just like people in Frozen World used to be afraid of magic. And this is the two main problems. Third main problem is in society, when autism awareness is about how autistic kids wrong, many autistic kids are isolated. Parents just lock them down, like Elsa was locked down in their room. Many autistic kids are locked down in institutions, and they could be separated from their siblings, from their friends, from people who could be their friends. And they, even if they go away from this institution, they could believe that no one would accept them as they are. And you know that autism kids even promote institutions that tortures autistic people with electroshock. I think Lil or Ayman would give a link below about George Rattenberg Center. This is institutions that torture autistic kids, and Autism Speaks sometimes promote this institution. And Autism Speaks autism look like tragedy. Just like Elsa's parents, they look at her like he was broken. Not like he had this magic, amazing magic. the same with Autism Speaks ads. For example, in one ad, mother said that she want to kill her autistic daughter, and she would kill her if he wouldn't have a normal child at home. And in other ads, it was about like autism stole their kids, stole kids, autistic kids, stole normal kids. And this is was the attitude that autistic parents have towards their kids, that broken their kids' self-confidence or don't give them opportunity to maintain their abilities. And this was attitude that made Elsa have this big self-doubt that Elsa frozen Arendelle. And even in the second movie, Elsa was a little afraid of her power. And Elsa was separated from her sister, and Elsa was stolen from near 10 years of her life. And this is what we suffered, that autistic kids suffered. And fourth problem, common in frozen world and in our world, and this is about sexism. And I'm very like this part of frozen story when Elsa's mother, she lived in this shame culture when have not normal kids was a shame, and she wouldn't speak much to protect their daughters, to protect Elsa, despite that Elsa's mother, like we see in second movie, was from culture when we have magic was something honorable, something amazing. But she was afraid of her husband. This is pure sexism. Like Ivan said that Elsa's mother was like good stepford wife. And Autism Speaks is a deeply sexist organization. They even choose this black light up blue because they say that autism is a more boys condition. We would give a link about it. This is why blue. Now of course they write more about autistic girls, but for many years they just support this autistic girls raise it, and most autistic people who speak about autistic people who work for Autism Speaks and speak about themselves, it was men, not women. And even women that Autism Speaks choose, like for example, they could collaborate with Temple Grandin, as far as I know. Maybe I'm mistaken, but as far as I know, they collaborated with support some Temple Grandin's work. But Temple Grandin's autism look like most of that kind of autism that most men have. So most autistic girls don't look like Temple Grandin or don't look like autistic boys, but Autism Speaks support these autistic women who behave more like autistic boys. So sexism is the first stuff in common between Frozen and Autism Speaks. And for fifth, I think it's racism. I know that it's not for me to say about racism because we are white system, and I'm a white person, but many autistic people of color don't like Autism Speaks because Autism Speaks don't have this good representation of black people. Autistic black people have problem with diagnosis, have problem with accommodation because they are raised too. And in Frozen World, Elsa suffered not just because of this kind of sexism and of course Magicophobia that look like ableism, but because of this xenophobic stuff, because of kind of racism that exists in this world. Elsa's mother was from the minority, from minority tribes that respect magic and even worship magic, but Elsa's mother tried to be a good wife of a rich white man, king of white kingdom, and she even afraid, I think, do you think the second movie that she was singing a libel, her own libel of her people, when her husband wasn't near her, and he said to her husband like, I need to say to you who I am, that I am from this little tribe, this different culture, like it was something bad, despite that she saved her husband's life. She saved her husband's life. She better understand their daughter after that. And she was a good girlfriend, but she was ashamed of her own culture. And she tried to make her daughter fit in this white Arendelle culture despite of their region. Despite that their region better accept magic. At the same time, Autism Speaks tried to make all people live in this border of culture created by supremacy, and I knew it from their collaboration with some racist group in past, and with the stuff that they don't give much voices for autistic people of color. And I think it takes stuff in common. Yeah, and I think thick stuff is about when Elsa have this power, her mother could find another magical people or another people who are expert in magic, her own people. But despite all of this, she was more listening to non-magical people like her own husband, just because for normal people. And this is a pure Autism Speaks strategy. Most of experts in Autism Speaks organization, most people in the board, and sometimes in some part of Autism Speaks history, all people in the board was non-autistic people. And so in frozen world, magical people and magical creatures like trolls or like people who could use magic or who could understand the path of magic, the better magical expert. Just like in our world, autistic people, the better expert in autism than non-autistic people. But many people just prefer to support this big charity organization like Autism Speaks, who just try to silence autistic people, try to make us different, completely different creatures, and erase stigmatized autistic, especially stigmatized autistic people like autistic people of color or autistic girls, and this needs to be changed. And so you could see something in common, like parents in Frozen try to make Elsa distinguished from peers. Autism Speaks promote this idea that autistic kids could be distinguished from peers. Like parents in Frozen try to isolate their daughters, both their daughters, and try to make Elsa think that her power is dangerous. Autism Speaks create culture when parents isolated their kids, sometimes even kill their kids, and think that their kids is broken, their kids are dangerous, and their kids need to be fixed. Just like in Frozen, it's ruined Elsa's self-confidence and couldn't help Elsa to control their power. In real world, this idea that autistic people are broken ruined autistic people's self-confidence and don't let them opportunity to behave and be happy like autistic people, and create a good relationship with other people, and just have good quality of life. And like in Frozen, sexism was intersected with this kind of Magicophobia. In our world, sexism, or Autism Speaks sexism, and big charity organization sexism intersected with ableism. And like in Frozen World, xenophobia and this kind of racism was intersected with the Magicophobia. In our world, racism and xenophobia intersected with ableism. So I just ask you, don't support Autism Speaks, And don't create a problem to your kids like Elsa's parents create for Elsa. And just try to accept your kids, try to listen to your kids. And if you have daughters, try to listen to your daughters, even if your husband don't don't listen to them or have some sexist ideas. And please don't support Autism Speaks. It's better to support our organization created by autistic people for autistic people, like Autism Women and Non-Binary Network or Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. And you could find a link below, why Autism Speaks and wrong. And this article about Frozen and autism. And yeah, and I think if you are an autistic person, just believe that fear of who you are wouldn't help you, even if society teach you to fear who you are, and that acceptance of your power, acceptance of who you are, could help you to have a proper quality of life and have a good relationship and be yourself. And like Elsa in the second movie, choose your own lifestyle. I hope you could choose your own lifestyle, and I hope you would be safe in this autism acceptance month. I know it's difficult because of all this anti-autistic information, but I wish you a good autism acceptance month. I hope you like my video. I was really nervous while I'm making it. See you next time, and we will see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe to it. We want to make our channel more visible. Don't forget to subscribe to it, and leave comments or share it with your friends. You would really help us by doing it. See you next time. Bye.